When you're adding fractions, it's just the same as when you're comparing fractions. So 3/5 plus 2/3. All you would have to do is just set it up just like we had done before. When we're comparing the fractions, we find a common bottom number between 5 and 3. So we're trying to find a common number between 5 and 3. And 5 times 3 is 15. 15 will work. I have 15, 15. Then I just have to go through 5 times what equals 15. I know it's 3. Do the same thing to the top. 9/15. 3 times what equals 15. 3 times 5 does. Do the same thing to the top that you did to the bottom. We have 10/15. Now, the difference for this is now that we're adding them. Instead of saying, oh, yeah, it's easy, this one's bigger. No, actually, the other one's bigger. But instead of saying that, now we're putting these two numbers together. When we're adding fractions, we don't change the size of the piece. I have 9/15. And then I have 10/15. They're the sizes. The 15th is the size. I put them together, I get 19/15. You're probably noticing that 19/15 is improper fraction. So you just have to simplify that. 15 goes into 19 one full time. And then you have 4 left over. And the bottom number always stays the same because we're still talking about 15ths. So 3/5 plus 2/3 equals 19/15, which equals 1 and 4/15. Pretty simple. Pretty much the same thing as when you compare the fractions. This time we're just getting common bottom numbers, and then just adding the tops. In this situation, it's 1/3 plus 1/4. Again, we have to find a common bottom number. We know that they both go into 12. So 3 times 4 equals 12. 1 times 4 equals 4. 4 times 3 equals 12. So then I have to do the same thing to the top. I get 1 times 3 is 3. Since it's adding, I need to add these two numbers together. The size of the piece doesn't change. So this one becomes 7/12. Same type of problem, 3/8 plus 2/5. We just have to write it up and down to show our work. And we're finding out our common bottom numbers, which would be 40. I just multiplied 8 times 5 to get the 40. Eight times 5 is 40. Do the same thing to the top, 15/40ths. And then I get 5 times 8 is 40. And then 2 times 8 is 16. I'm adding them together. The bottom numbers stay the same, so I'm just adding these two together, and I get 31/40. For subtraction, same idea. You'll just find common denominators. Instead of comparing them, you just subtract the top numbers. Between 4 and 8, I'm going to use 8. Can you use 32? Sure, that works. 16 works. Whatever they both can go into works fine. 5/8 is the same as 5/8. And then 4 to 8 is times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 5/8 minus 2/8. So I take 5/8 minus the 2/8. And I get 3/8. In this one, same thing, 9/10 minus 4/5. I just have to find a common denominator for them. So I'm going to use tenths. So 9/10 is 9/10. 5 times 2 is 10. Do have to do the same thing to the top. I get 8/10. 9/10 minus 8/10 is just 1/10. There are 4 problems here. Please write them down in your math notebook or on a piece of paper and solve them. Remember, you're adding at the first two, you find a common denominator, add the tops, and the last two you're subtracting, so find a common denominator and subtract those. Do the problems in your book and pause this video, and then you can turn the video on and I'll put the answers on. as soon as right when you're done. Now check your answers to make sure that you did it correctly. I think these were the simple numbers that you could use on the first one. If you wanted to use 27 as the common denominator on the bottom, that's perfectly fine because that's just 9 times 3. If you wanted to use 32 for number 3, that's perfectly fine too. I just picked 8 because I knew that 4 and 8 goes in, 4 and 8 both go into 8. After this, you should be pretty set with that. On a different day, we will work on doing mixed numbers, but that's not much of a problem at all.